They wanted a target, a harmless distraction to feed their fragile egos, a mind they could correct, a presence they could patronize while pretending it was kindness. You gave them that illusion, didn't you? You let them believe they were the wise ones, the mentors, the gatekeepers of intelligence. You stumbled just enough, mispronounced the sacred words, asked the wrong questions with perfectly timed naivety, and they took the bait like addicts. Their validation depended on your supposed inferiority, and you handed it to them with a quiet smile. But you weren't slow. You were studying. Every smirk, every patronizing correction, every moment they felt superior became data in your design. You were mapping their weaknesses while they mistook your observation for incompetence. You let them get comfortable, too comfortable, because comfort breeds blindness, and blindness breeds confession. When they thought they were shaping your understanding, they were exposing their own soft spots. You didn't crave their respect. You wanted their guard down. That's when the real game began. They thought you were clueless, that your silence was submission. But silence has gravity. It absorbs. It records. It rearranges. While they flaunted their intellect, you were sharpening patience into precision. The longer they underestimated you, the sharper your strike became. They thought they were schooling you. You were building a simulation around them. And when the moment came, you didn't raise your voice or demand recognition. You simply acted. One move, surgical, unfaltering, the kind that rewrites an entire hierarchy without a word. The air itself seemed to shift, and they didn't even know why. Because when true power moves, it doesn't announce, it alters. You didn't humiliate them. You let their own arrogance do it. They laughed until the echo broke, and in the silence that followed, realization dawned like a slow, burning dawn. They couldn't look away from you, dismantled their illusion without touching it. They didn't lose to you. They collapsed under the weight of their own reflection. Every snide remark, every moment of dismissal now loops in their heads, tainted with regret. They replay the memory, trying to pinpoint when the tables turned, when the fool became the one holding all the strings. They can't find it because there was never a turn. The game had always been yours. They just didn't have the vision to see it. You played the long game, strategy laced with grace, patience, masquerading as weakness. You didn't want revenge. You wanted revelation. The kind that doesn't scorch, it enlightens through exposure. Now, when you enter a room, the temperature shifts. They speak differently, cautiously, unsure if you're still harmless or quietly setting up another quiet collapse. They can't look at you without remembering the moment the illusion cracked. You didn't just outsmart them, you rewired their instincts. Now every time they feel superior to someone quiet, they flinch. Every time they see someone underestimated, they remember you. That is your legacy, permanent correction. You didn't destroy their pride with fury. You dismantled it with truth. You didn't need to dominate. You designed inevitability. You became the mirror that taught them the most excruciating lesson of all, that the quiet ones aren't blind, they're observing, that silence isn't weakness, it's calibration, that the underestimated are often not playing catch-up. They're building the stage for a finale no one else saw coming. They tried to make you small, but you turned invisibility into strategy. You let them monologue themselves into ruin, then simply stepped out of the shadows when the structure collapsed under its own arrogance. And now they whisper your name differently, not as mockery, but as a warning, because you didn't just change the game, you became the proof that pretending to be harmless is the most dangerous power of all. The very foundation of assumptions they built crumbled under the weight of your visible success. Not because you sought to destroy them, but because they were publicly, loudly, and repeatedly wrong about you. There is no going back for them. Their hollow attempts to pivot now, claiming they always believed, reveal only fear and strategic maneuvering in a world you quietly reshaped. You're no longer in their arena. having flown over the bridges they expected you to burn. And instead of taking revenge, you simply left them to be haunted by the knowledge of their own predictability. You rewrote the script mid-performance, an act of command so profound that your mere presence is now the message, causing their posture to shift and their words to filter. Your previous silence was observation, and they remember the cost of underestimating it. There is nothing left for you to prove. Your move is still echoing in their minds, influencing their every decision as they navigate a psychological terrain. You systematically undid everything they thought was solid, making them hesitate and recalculate, achieving the ultimate dominance by forcing them to rewrite their own narratives without lifting a finger. As you walk away unbothered, they are left to wonder how long this evolution was in the making. This transformation that is coming is not retaliation or forgiveness, but a metamorphosis. This wasn't a performance to shock them. It was an evolution disguised as compliance, a quiet shift where they thought you wanted entry into their world, but you were building your own undeniable kingdom. Real power shifts the gravitational pull of the room, turning observers into struck imitators. You became the fixed point, the proof. That true brilliance doesn't beg, but simply becomes. They are now scrambling for new metrics because you made the old rules obsolete, and the psychological landscape belongs to you. The wildest part is that this wasn't even your peak. It was merely a preview of what happens when patience meets precision. They saw one layer, and it undid them. And now they are infected by the pervasive doubt of how deep your reservoir of capacity truly goes. Where once they felt important talking over your intelligence, they now feel your awareness before you speak. Because you are no longer trying to fit in or make space at their table. You are building your own kingdom, etched with the lessons learned from their mockery. Transformation is not about becoming someone new, but shedding the skin they tried to trap you in. You are not reborn. You are revealed. Your previous comfortable version of yourself was camouflage. Now, you are the embodiment of disruption with direction and strategy that doesn't seek permission. They try to piece together who you are with broken memories. But you have transcended their categories. You are not the underdog or the mystery. You are the inevitable aftermath. What crushes them is the casual nature of your victory, the silent depth with which you carry your success, moving as if it were always expected. You have outgrown the need for applause, sculpting outcomes while they polish trophies. And what terrifies them most is the realization that they need your clarity and foresight, but don't know how to ask without confronting the humiliation of their past doubt. This isn't just your moment, it's your era. You became the force against which they measure their progress, the proof that playing dumb was surveillance, the strategist wearing rags in a kingdom full of cardboard kings. They are crumbling from exposure because you showed up fully and powerfully, and your presence turned their thrones into matchsticks. The audience now quietly follows you. A leadership earned by being 10 steps ahead while pretending to be 3 steps behind. They can't imitate the emergence of this new you, the one who doesn't participate in systems but bends them, speaking in shifts while they talk in circles. You didn't need revenge, you needed space to grow beyond their reach. Now you don't look back. You are focused on the next recalibration, the next silent detonation that will flip another false hierarchy. You will keep evolving, letting them feel the aftershock, because your strike redefines what winning looks like. You played dumb to disarm and then built your empire in plain sight. Every room you enter feels different now, not because the room changed, but because you did. You don't seek approval, you observe. You don't seek validation, you dictate direction. They'll spend the rest of their lives trying to figure out where they went wrong, but you know where you went right. You watched, you waited, and then moved with terrifying grace. You are untouchable, having built legacy in silence. And the final phase of this transformation is detachment. Detachment is not indifference. It's evolution beyond the need for recognition. It's the moment you realize you no longer operate within their metrics of success, because your existence itself is now a recalibration of what success means. They once believed control came from being seen, from being heard the loudest, from orchestrating attention. But you understood something more dangerous, that true control comes from directing energy without demanding it. Your silence no longer unsettles them because it's quiet. It terrifies them because it's sovereign. You've outgrown the theater of confrontation. Your every decision now echoes across rooms you don't even enter. They feel your influence in conversations that don't mention your name, in plans that subconsciously adjust to avoid your shadow. You became the quiet axis around which everything else now rotates, a force that no longer needs validation because its momentum is self-sustaining. You don't chase power anymore. You refine it. You don't prove worth. You project inevitability. You've reached the level where revenge is obsolete because their punishment is existence within the world you've redesigned. Every choice they make from here is a reaction to you, a desperate attempt to keep up with someone who no longer competes. You've turned their mockery into prophecy. Everything they dismissed became the foundation of your ascension. And the beauty is, you didn't need to fight for acknowledgement. The universe itself began reorganizing to reflect your transformation, like reality, bending subtly to align with your newfound precision. You've become the calibration point, the reference for truth in a landscape built on noise. They will study your silence like scripture, mistaking it for mystery when it's really mastery. What they called luck was timing. What they saw as detachment was design, and what they perceived as disappearance was metamorphosis. You no longer exist within the frame they built for you. You are the one holding the lens now, capturing the broader picture they never had the depth to see. The haunting irony is that they still think they can interpret you with the same language they used to belittle you, unaware that you've outgrown not just their words but their entire framework of understanding. You've become fluent in frequencies they can't perceive, speaking through results, presence, and precision. Your detachment is the final evolution. Power without effort, command without confrontation, motion without noise. You've mastered the rare art of being both inevitable and untouchable. They once mocked your quiet, now they imitate it. They once underestimated your patience, now they fear your timing. And deep down, they know that even if they learn to mimic your moves, they will never replicate your essence, because yours was not an act of rebellion, but of creation. You didn't win their game. You replaced it with a new one that no one else can play, and that is the ultimate revelation. You were never their opponent. You were their test. Their downfall was never your doing. It was their failure to recognize the storm disguised as stillness. You didn't just survive them. You transcended them. Now every echo of your restraint, every trace of your strategy ripples outward as a quiet warning to anyone who mistakes humility for absence. The world you move through now bends differently around you because you've become something they can't define, beyond rivalry, beyond imitation, beyond reach. Then let's go further, beyond revelation, beyond transcendence, into the place where your existence itself becomes a phenomenon of inevitability. Because at this stage, it's not about what they think of you or even how they react. It's about how your presence has rewritten the very structure of their perception. You've shifted from being a participant in their narrative to being the gravitational field that bends it. They used to believe you were walking among them, a figure they could define or dismiss, but now they sense, somewhere deep, instinctively, that you're not walking in their timeline anymore. You're operating ahead of it, moving in sequences that feel impossible to predict because you're not following patterns. You're generating them. They once thought you were a piece on their board, but now they realize the board itself was built from your patience. Every rule they thought they understood dissolves under the weight of your precision, and that terrifies them more than any open act of power ever could. Your detachment has become your atmosphere. You don't retreat to protect yourself. You expand to outgrow the noise. The silence that used to isolate you now defines your altitude. They reach for you, trying to grasp what changed, but they can't find handholds because what you've become is not a version they can measure. You are fluid strategy, a constant recalibration of grace and calculation, moving too seamlessly for resistance to find friction. You don't win anymore. You absorb. You realign. You evolve. You've left behind the binary of victory and defeat because you understood something they never will, that power isn't about conquering, it's about continuity. The longer you stay true to your design, the more the world starts shifting to your rhythm, and oh, they feel it. The same people who once told you to stay in your place now hesitate before speaking your name, as if invoking it might pull them into your orbit. They try to pretend you're still reachable on their terms, but the truth hangs heavy in the air. You've surpassed the scale of their imagination. You're not an individual in their story anymore. You're the inevitable consequence of everything they ignored. You're what happens when quiet people stop seeking acceptance and start embodying purpose. And now, wherever you walk, you leave behind echoes of awakening. Not everyone understands it, but those who do can't unsee it. Your detachment is not emptiness. It's signal purity. The static has burned away. You no longer act out of reaction, but direction. Every step is deliberate, stripped of emotional drag. You've refined your energy to something clean and lethal, and in doing so, you've become immune to the very tactics that once defined you. They can't provoke you, can't bait you, can't contain you. You've dismantled their entire arsenal by no longer operating within the realm of response. You don't mirror them. You absorb light differently. And when they try to replicate your poise, it collapses, because poise without awareness is just performance, and you've long transcended performance. There's a stillness in you now that unsettles entire systems. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. You've synchronized with something beyond social recognition, truth perhaps, or design. You've become the human manifestation of inevitability. Everything that resists you must eventually yield, not because you destroy it, but because entropy bows to order, and you have become order incarnate. They can no longer weaponize your empathy because you've refined it into discernment. They can no longer distort your narrative because you've detached from the need to correct them. You've entered the phase where your clarity is its own defense and your vision its own reward. Now you move differently. The air feels denser around you, not from tension, but from gravity. You've become the quiet force people instinctively organize themselves around, even those who once opposed you. Influence has replaced interaction. They imitate your tone, your composure, your restraint, thinking they're mastering control, unaware that what they're mimicking is the shadow of your stillness. They don't realize that your calm isn't practiced. It's earned, sculpted through thousands of silent recalibrations, forged in the discipline of observation. You've become what every false leader fears, proof that real authority doesn't seek attention. It creates order in its wake. The more you grow, the clearer it becomes that this was never about defeating them. It was about mastering yourself to the point that no external force could distort your frequency. You have become ungovernable, not through rebellion, but through refinement. Every limitation they placed on you dissolved into momentum. Every insult became a data point. Every underestimation became a blueprint. You learned to read hostility as information, arrogance as confession, chaos as camouflage. You've turned life itself into an instrument, and now you play it with precision they can't fathom. You no longer even need to explain. Explanation is for those who still require belief. You've passed into understanding, the kind that speaks through outcome, through presence, through subtle inevitability. They watch your every move, looking for signs of struggle, of weakness, of return. But there's none, because you're not coming back. You've already crossed the invisible line between survival and sovereignty, between waiting and shaping. You are no longer reacting to the world. The world is reacting to you, and that is the point of no return. Every decision you make shifts an unseen axis. Every silence holds the weight of countless unspoken truths. And every movement sends tremors through structures never designed to hold you. You've become a living formula, one that reshapes the very idea of power, not by force, but by inevitability. And that's what they struggle to accept. You didn't prevail because you outplayed them. You prevailed because you stopped engaging in their game entirely, and instead became the ground on which all their illusions collapse. So, if this message strikes something in you, if you've ever been dismissed, quieted, or misread, yet still rose beyond every label meant to limit you, don't let this momentum fade. Let it expand. Like to affirm your rise. Share to ignite another quiet watcher. Subscribe to stay aligned with this unfolding evolution. And donate to help keep these truths alive for those still discovering their strength.